as we've been all aware for the past several months, like we need to like shift our business to post-COVID-19 modes as fast as we can. So it's been really hard for on restaurant businesses like which are most of our customers. The ways people dine and eat changed dramatically. The psychology of consumers changed. Needs, wants, or even fears are different from like how they were several months ago. So we've been thinking hard about like how restaurant business should be, especially ones with primary focus on noodles and other flour products. Today we are talking about parts of what we'd like to propose, some ideas, and then address and answer some of the questions or challenges faced by real restaurant operators. So like we're going to share like some practical tips that you can take home and start applying right away. And so we are hoping like what we're talking about today in this class will help some of you in certain ways right away. So, but before we get into the class, let me talk a little bit about ourselves. Like for some of you like who don't know much about us. So we're in this business like of noodles for 45 years. We do noodle machines that are designed for like small restaurants, udon, soba, basically Japanese noodles and ramen, and for small production. And we've been like running noodle schools on ramen, udon, and soba. We have a school here, like here in Kagawa. That's where our headquarters is. We have one in Tokyo, and so we've been teaching, people who want to start up their own noodle businesses, like restaurants, from scratch. And yes, so if you're interested in like tennis school learning more about Japanese noodles, feel free to explore more on our website. So we have customers. We have customers in using our machines in 61 countries. We have offices in Japan, including Tokyo. We have an office in Seoul, Korea. We have an office in Singapore. We have a location in Amsterdam, Netherlands, United States, and we also have like partners in different countries. So we basically are like a group of people like who are dedicated to success for our customers by providing training, noodle recipes, well, whatever they need to start offering, better products, better noodle, like flour products. So that's yes. So that's us. All right. So let's start talking about the first part of the lecture. And so there are certain types of like noodle businesses out there, and then one of them is like restaurants and production, sale to like distribution, and then there's somewhere something in the middle, like hybrids. We call it hybrids. So restaurants sell their noodles in their dishes and menus mainly in the form of complete dishes. That means noodles are cooked and ready to eat. This is done for both dining in takeaways and delivery business. During the time of COVID-19, restaurants are forced to do more of takeaways and deliveries, in which they may have to tweak their current dishes and recipes to suit their existing dishes to maintain the qualities for these businesses. For example, their noodle recipes need to be modified to last longer in hot soup. In short, they would have to adjust their dishes to optimize the qualities for different environments from dining in business. This may be quite challenging for certain restaurants. And we'd like to address some of the challenges faced by restaurants later in this class. When talking about noodle businesses, there's other types of businesses where noodles and other related products, for example, soups, toppings, and probably side dishes, are manufactured and distributed. What may be different from restaurant businesses is that they are not engaged in the service aspect of the business. They just make and sell. Noodle factory, for example, manufactures a few types of fresh noodles in a mass quantity and distributes them. Because a noodle factory employs a large production equipment, which should be utilized as much as possible to make profits, is not so flexible in terms of responding to customers' needs. For example, to manufacture a small lot, say 100 servings per order of certain types of noodles requested by a small restaurant, it's kind of difficult for a noodle factory to handle. And launching and operating a large production facility is costly, and doing it carries a lot of risks. And we think that there's some business model that may strike somewhere in between. So production that provides some portion of the service aspect of the restaurant business, or restaurant business that can also manufacture and offer their food products that are sold at supermarkets or directly to consumers in the neighborhood. In case of a production facility to turn into this hybrid model, may be able to like devote a small section of their facility to accommodate customers who want to dine in and take away. Even though there may be a small investment necessary, for example, like noodle cookers for like soup stocks and other kitchen equipment, offering a chance for consumers to try their products in person helps sell their products to consumers who may not have tried their products yet. The production facility can also promote their products by offering them in cooked format. So this move may create a new B2C channel for their business. And a restaurant can start to offer noodles that are catered to local restaurant retailers like supermarkets and directly to consumers in close locations. For restaurant business to start offering competing products to the current offerings that may be similar in nature, if there's any, there may be some challenges. And then we think that biggest challenge is the packaging, the product package that's better suited for longer travels to customers. So noodle product package. So packaging means not just the container that holds the products, but also what's included in the package. So noodles, sauce slash soup, toppings, side dishes, etc. So how complete a meal we want to and can make as a homemade package really depends on the capability of the restaurants. We may not have to manufacture everything from scratch by ourselves, but maybe able to work with others to bring the package to a more complete format. For example, you produce special broth that are your restaurant's signature, but not your own noodles. You can ask the other restaurant that manufacture high quality noodles for order of special noodles to be put together with the broth as a package for takeout, delivery, and meal kits. We have some questions about what kind of containers are suitable for takeout and delivery, and we'll address that later in the class. So not only like noodles, soup toppings, but like you can also have like kind of some side dishes like small eats, like a dumpling, bowl dish like items like rice bowl items. And you can also like offer like some like sweets, and even like you can do like drinks like beverages like homemade smoothies and teas and other things as in the package. And we also think that branding is very, very important. It's going to be, even ever more important. The reputation you have built as a restaurant in your location should help establish a brand as a supplier of like noodle products that are high in value and quality. And of course, like brand reflects the quality value of the products and services. And it would be easier for you to sell your products if your brand has already been established and trusted by your customers in the local area. And we should start building our brands by developing and offering products your customers value highly and keep at it. And we have to know like what your local consumers value. And of course, like this is not brainer, right? But like, if there's a good population of people, like for family of more than 3, should have a package that's catered to this segment of customers. If you have a quite number of like people for vegan, you may have to at least have like few selections of vegan products that beat the competition. And you also have to be unique. So developing unique products, noodle dishes that no one else offers in your market. For example, like using certain ingredients only available in your local markets, or employing a special production method that would not make much business sense to other people, other restaurants. For example, like resting dough for like 12 hours, etc. In short, I think being unique, high value, flexible, and responding to particular local needs are essential in building your brand. It's possible because of the small size and operation. And it's critical also to explain all these to your customers so that they'll know your product's stories, uniqueness, and values. And this can be easily done through like nowadays, like through SNS and other channels. I've seen many of our customers are already doing it, and we should follow suit, but with our own uniqueness and stories. And localizing your products, services, and this may be like different from what it sounds like, but like ramen is something that's been localized to Japanese tastes and food cultures after it was introduced to Japan over 100 years ago from China. Ramen may be something relatively new to your customers, but like if so, it may take some efforts to educate your customers to get accustomed to the cuisine or develop ramen dishes that your customers accept as local foods, or some other Chinese style noodles you can introduce to your customers. Because it's the time like when people can't travel or go enjoy other places, even if they want to. We should offer something foreign and new, but appealing to your local customers and customer base. So using the local ingredients as much as possible, we need to localize these cuisines in your markets and neighborhood. We need to understand the characteristics of our markets, what they like, and break what's already popular in other places but not yet in your markets, or develop what you think your customers will love. You also need to like cherish your existing customers who will talk about you and your product via SNS and other media they use. This will help generate new customers for you. So for example, like we did a class on ramen previously. That's a mixed up like noodle dish with a small amount of sauce. And we think this dish is like very versatile, flexible and customizable by changing each component, which are noodles, sauce, and toppings. And each component can be made of local ingredients but can carry foreign tastes and flavors. We've seen similar noodle dishes across the world, especially in Asia, like cooked noodles mixed up with a small amount of sauce, made with local seasonings, and toppings your local consumers love. So we can develop a variety of maze soba dishes by borrowing ideas from different noodle cuisines across the world to develop your own menu board just on this category. You should also find other people like, who may have something you don't have. For example, special seasoning, baldo, unique homemade noodles, containers set lie in the neighborhood or close locations. We can work with them to create a unique package with these items and sell them from your restaurant. This way, we are also promoting their products. They can also promote you back. We can build a strong community where we can help each other and stay strong in the business. So this way, we are building strong brand in the community and local markets. So all of these may allow us to stay strong during and come out stronger this tough time. And so these are customization ideas that we have like in the measurement class, and so we can kind of, have like make all these like different components using local ingredients, seasonings, and make them like localize them and then introduce them to your customers' local area. And of course, like some of you like already know this and like are moving towards this direction, but like, because we get inquiries and information from different parts of the world, we're hoping the information we have may help your business in some ways. The other things I want to say about this is that like we have to be proactive and swift in actions. We need to get ourselves to speed, constantly think of what can be done and act on what can we do now. We'll just have to keep at it and continue until things get better. So that's the first part of the lecture I had, and then I want to go through like some of the questions we have from real noodle restaurants. So the first question I have is, do noodles taste different depending on protein content? Should we choose what kind of noodles we serve to the customer's preference? So we assume this question regards to like all wheat-based noodles in general. So the taste of noodles itself does not really change when made from flours with different protein content ratios, except for strength of wheat flavors and smell. So basically, the higher the content, protein content, the longer the noodle textures retain after cooking. And soggy noodles, like soft noodles, don't really sound good, but like when noodles are served in a soup, noodles absorb the soup, right? So in a certain sense, the noodles hold or carry more soup, the soggy noodles. This definitely affects the taste when eating a soup noodle dish because when you're eating noodles, you're also tasting the soup as well. So you don't want the noodles that get soggy fast, like losing al dente texture, or nor noodles that absorb no soup at all. Because like if we eat like noodles that don't absorb any soup, like we feel like tasting noodles and soups as completely separate foods. So we should strike a good balance. And this slide like kind of explains the how noodles get cooked and soggy. And so we are talking about the right balance we need to strike. I'm talking about is that like the one middle, like so this is a cross section noodles, and after we cook the noodles, the the water like penetrates the noodles and then towards the core, and then we have some like raw part like that in the core, and then that's the texture that we're talking about, like kind of al dente texture. And after that, like over time, like it's the water like penetrates like towards core and core, like then the core part like kind of disappears like on the water, and so that's how the noodles get soggy. And we can control this noodle texture by change the cooking time, and of course like noodle size, like ingredients and hydration ratio of the noodles. So that's how we, and then so that's the I think the like relationship like between like protein content and the noodle soup. So the next question I have is how does the protein content change the noodle texture, bounciness, smoothness? So for example, like feeling of like noodles like going down your throat, the sliminess of noodle surface, and what is the sliminess of noodle surface? That's another question. The question, but it also affect the noodle texture. But how do they affect it? So bounciness, to answer this, like I need to explain this wheat flour. So the wheat flour like we use for like noodles are like this type. So like inside wheat flour, like there's a protein and starch and water. And what changes that like protein content, like how much protein is contained and how much starch is contained. The water remains like mostly the same. And so for the like hardest noodle, like so protein content like gives the hardness in the noodle texture. And the hardest flour we could have like in the market, like probably this bread flour. And then the softest flour we have in the market is cake flour. The cake flour is like probably around like 3%, 4%. And so 7% is like probably lowest that we use for noodles, and then that's for like udon noodles. And so bounciness and sliminess are characteristics of starch of wheat. So the higher the protein content, the less bouncy and slimy the noodle surface, because gluten structure develops to envelop the starch. And so this noodle texture is like kind of similar to pasta. And the less protein, the bouncier the noodle texture. It's kind of like similar to like udon noodle texture. And the sliminess may also come from the powder we use for dusting powder, because we use starch basically for dusting. Another question I have is, can you explain the relationship between protein content with noodles and soup? For example, what kind of soup goes well with the noodles with high protein? So the first thing we can think about is that the higher the protein, the harder the noodle texture. Thin noodles are physically weak in texture. So generally, we use flour with a high protein content to make it hard. On the other hand, like thick noodles physically give strong texture. If we make thick noodles with flour with high protein content, we end up making noodles that are thick and hard. And this noodle gives poor texture because it's hard to eat and takes a long time to cook. So we use flour with high low protein content to make thick noodles, like dipping noodles on this chart. And thinking about, so like, and then we use, thinking about like relationship between like thickness of noodles and soup. So thin noodles, so high protein, like tonkotsu ramen, like this green circle, do not go well with miso ramen. And thick noodles, like raw protein, like dipping noodles, um, do not go well with the tonkotsu soup. But like, of course, like these are just the patterns of like existing or prevailing dishes that we currently see in the markets. So there can be exceptions and variations. Because a bowl of tonkotsu udon noodle soup is popular at some udon specialty shops in the United States and other countries. So you should be able to make an exceptional match that becomes popular in your country. Well, I'm not sure like if I answered the question, but like so this. Um, so what is a good combination of relationship between wavy, straight noodles and protein content flours used to make the noodles? So I think there's a like rather than like relationship between like wavy straight noodles, protein content flours, but I think there's a stronger correlation between like hydration ratio and whether noodles are curly. So in general, like we see more of curly noodles in high hydration noodles. So high hydration noodles for the size like mid to thick, medium to thick, and a protein content like medium to low, like dipping noodles. So positive with curly noodles in is small, like in low hydration noodles. Low hydration noodles are like, noodle size is thin, the protein content is high, like tonkotsu ramen, like the green circle. So this probably may be because like low hydration noodles are physically hard, not flexible, and making them curly may break the noodles. Yet, but like thick and high hydration noodles are more flexible and easier to be curled. So that may be why. So the harder, so the soft, so the softer the noodles, like the more likely there's a wavy noodles. Um, Another question I have, like, explain the relationship between protein content and consistency. So again, like going back to the chart, like higher the protein, the thinner the noodle size. Lower the protein, the thicker the noodle size. Um, because because potassium carbonate hardens and tightens the noodle texture, as you can see like in this slide. Constantly with the higher potassium carbonate ratio is better for thinner noodles, higher protein content. For thicker noodles, which is lower protein content, like softer noodles, we use sodium carbonate that softens the noodle texture. So depending on the noodle size, we use different ratios of constant potassium carbonate and sodium carbonate. So that was a question I had for these slides, and then like I have other questions we need to answer, but like we'll answer them like later in the kitchen or like when we make noodles. Before we move on to the next thing, I want to talk a little bit about like benefits of homemade noodles, and then I've been talking about it like in previous classes, but like I hope you allow me to like spend a little bit of time on this. So if you're a restaurant like serving noodles, you have two options. You can buy noodles, you can make noodles. And if you buy noodles like Noodle Factory, like the one we talked about, the average price of like one fresh serving like fresh noodles maybe like 150 cents in US dollars. If you make your own noodles, the cost of like making your own noodles maybe 20 cents per serving. That includes like labor, utility fees, like ingredient cost. So you're looking at like 50 to 60 in saving. And so like let's say like you sell like per serving. So like if you sell like 200 servings a day, like if you sell like 5,000 servings a month, so you know like how much you'll save, right? And of course, like taking advantage of the low production cost, and then you can definitely make better noodles than what the noodle factory offers. So you can provide better noodles, better quality noodles at lower cost, and you can have total control over quality and what you can produce, and you know what's in there, right? Because you're the one who's making them, and you can provide more values to the customers. And again, like taking advantage of the low production cost, you can probably offer free noodles or like, give them like bigger serving size, like at the same price or something. And, customers would appreciate it and like keep going back to you for more. and you can create unique products. We talk about uniqueness, like you have to be unique, right, in your market, and it's very easy actually, for you to be able to like make, create, develop, and sell like unique products to market. And you can show your customers like how you make noodles from scratch. The customers are very curious, like as like how you make noodles from scratch, and this also serves as like an entertainment factor, and like they want to see, they want to watch you make your own noodles from scratch. And you can also make like a variety of products, not just noodles. Also, you can make a variety of noodles, fresh noodles, ramen, udon, soba, yakisoba pasta, Chinese style noodles, of course. But you can also make a variety of other wheat flour products like gyoza skin, wonton skin, like a bao dough, and other things. And of course, like you can, offer like turn your noodles or like noodle products or like these products into sweets, you know, um, as a, and then you can sell it in your package. You can put it in a package. And other things I want to talk about this is that like it's doesn't take up much space to start up your own production of craft noodles and other noodle products. And so this setup is probably smallest that you can start with, and then it only takes up like 8.6 square meters, and you can do probably around like 500 servings in a day in a matter of like maybe like 6 hours or so. So that's very easy to start. Okay, so that's what I have for this lecture part, and then but like before we go, I like to talk about this because so every class, like I know I've been talking about this, but because doing this online class is great. It's a great opportunity for us to talk about all these things. But like what's bad about it is that like we can't let you guys try the noodles and like all the noodle dishes that we make during the class. Um, so we feel really bad about it, but like we have these because we have these locations. If you're nearby, we try our best to like kind of make them available to you. So if you're interested in like tasting them, please feel free to contact us, and then we'll appreciate it.